Hi, this is Jason Vansickle. I'm CEO of Insource AI, and this is our artificial intelligence podcast for Insource AI. Joining me today is my son Taylor Vansickle, who is CTO of Insource AI, and my daughter Alexandria Vansickle, who is our COO. So we have a family business, and our business is artificial intelligence. Just a little background on us, since this is our first podcast. I started studying artificial intelligence during COVID. Well, like a lot of people, I was locked down with not much to do, and I started doing a deep dive into programming and other things I'd been interested in but hadn't pursued as a career, and saw immediately the incredible opportunity that was going to be available in artificial intelligence, and how it was on the brink of significantly changing the world around us. And so after I got my COVID vaccinations at the end of the pandemic, I gave away everything I owned, moved to California, to Silicon Valley, and spent a year there doing nothing but studying artificial intelligence from every aspect that I could find. So I then moved back to my hometown of Wichita, Kansas, and enlisted Taylor and Alexandria to join me on the journey of figuring out how to build applications that help people and empower people. We don't believe in replacing people with artificial intelligence. We believe in using artificial intelligence to augment people's capabilities so that they become more capable, more powerful, more independent, and with more options in life because of what artificial intelligence can do for people. So we're excited to launch this podcast because we've all spent years learning as much as we can about AI to become artificial intelligence experts. And we know there's a lot of people out there with questions and concerns, and there's a lot of information out there that's hard to sift through, a lot of which is misleading. And so we hope to provide some clarity and help you understand what is the reality of artificial intelligence, how is it going to impact your life, what tools are available today that you can use to immediately find some benefits, whether it's in your personal or professional life, and what the future looks like now that we have a world that includes artificial intelligence. So to kick things off, I thought what we would do is just talk about some of the things that have been in the news recently. So Taylor, we'll start with you as our CTO. I know you've got a lot of interest in hardware and some of the fundamentals of how artificial intelligence works. So was there anything in the news this week that caught your attention?
Nvidia invested quite a large amount of money in Intel recently to partner with them. So I think that's a pretty big thing, especially since Nvidia's kind of leading in AI at the moment, and Intel kind of gives them an in into basically not only just database and things like that, but personal computing. So things like servers and stuff like that. But they've also talked about integrating Nvidia SoCs into just like laptop CPUs. So that could bring AI to a lot more people potentially.
So for those who don't have a background in computer hardware like Taylor, let me translate that for you. So in the world of artificial intelligence, the way that things like ChatGPT are trained in order to do all the incredible things that they do is using big, massive supercomputers that have things called GPUs. And those GPUs are like the processor that you have in your computer. Every computer has a chip called a processor, usually a CPU. GPU is a graphical processor, which was originally invented for gaming. And because of their powerful ability of GPUs to process a lot of information, they're used to train models like ChatGPT. They're also used by us professionals in AI to run models like that because they're more powerful and capable than just a simple chip that's in an average computer. And so what Taylor's telling us about today is that the leader in GPU is a company called Nvidia, and many people will probably be familiar with the name Intel, which makes a lot of the CPUs or the computer chips inside our laptops and desktops. And so you said, Taylor, that there's a big announcement. So it's not, obviously Nvidia is not buying Intel, but are they investing in them, or what kind of partnership is this going to be?
They've tried to acquire a CPU company, starting with ARM way back a few years ago. But there was regulatory problems just because it would cause too many issues for Nvidia to also own any kind of CPU architecture or anything like that. So this is just an investment from Nvidia, but it's led into a partnership. I think probably the biggest reason this is probably a big deal is if they start making laptop chips, for example, with NVIDIA graphics on them, the ones that have, they're power efficient in laptops, so you don't, burn through your battery in about 10 minutes. The local models could run fairly easily on most low power systems, which I know, like Windows 11's been pushing a lot towards artificial intelligence integration.
So what we're seeing really is that, now that artificial intelligence has a lot of capabilities that can benefit a lot of different platforms, we're seeing that it's going from an online website like ChatGPT, where you can interact with a conversational AI and have it tell you funny dad jokes or write a poem or help do your homework for you, to where now different types of companies who do things like produce cell phones, like Apple and their iPhones, and people that do tablets and laptops are trying to figure out how to make sure their hardware is powerful enough on those devices to be able to run these AI models so that they can put more AI capabilities on devices. And so what Taylor's talking about today is now they're figuring out how to create partnerships with companies like Intel so that they can create chips for all different kinds of devices. Because in the future, you're going to see a lot of marketing, would be my guess, where you go to buy a phone and they're going to tell you this phone has the ability to handle AI capabilities because it's got some type of special processor in it that's built for that.
Well, that's kind of already here. You see that in like all the new Galaxy phones and the iPhones. That's literally in all of their marketing. It's just right now it's mainly used for things like, image editing and different, smaller tasks. Just because you can technically do all these on the device, it just takes a lot of power right now. So if this partnership goes through, instead of having to have a beefy laptop to run a language model, you could have, anybody's, $300-400 laptop that sits there and just runs a basic chat model, and then it might call off to like a major model like ChatGPT or Anthropic or something like that if it can't handle the current requests. So I think that's kind of more the direction we're going in. I mean, we already kind of see that in some situations. Apple kind of does that. They have their Siri do very basic stuff, and then they'll call off to ChatGPT to kind of offload it if Siri can't handle the query. But yeah, I think that's kind of where things are going. At least if this partnership ends up happening and they start making those system on chips.
So I would say, let me ask you this. So, the average person that is learning about these things probably wonders, okay, I've got an iPhone, it's a year old. Should I get rid of it and trade it in? Because now they say they've got an iPhone that's more capable of handling AI, or I've got a Galaxy phone that's a year and a half old. Do I need to upgrade it because I see now at the store it says it's got AI inside? I mean, it seems to me, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, that it's a little premature for that. Most of the capabilities that you're going to be accessing on your phone is going to be really brought to you through apps and websites. Like, you don't need a special phone with special hardware now just to use ChatGPT on it. But I think they're going to try to upsell a lot of people by saying, hey, spend another $500,000 or more on this phone because it's got AI inside. And that seems like a little bit of a gimmick to me at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a little premature at this point. Most of the processing is still done in the cloud and things like that. And if it's not done in the cloud, it's purely an artificial limitation. Like the new AirPods that came out from Apple, they have instant translation functionality, so you can put them in your ear and they'll translate what you hear around you. And they've locked that down to their newest devices. Now, it could be that the newest devices have more AI computational power because there are specialized hardware that they put in it. but I'm pretty sure that even the 16 Pro or the 15 Pro could still do that kind of processing. It's just marketing stuff right now to give cool little features that are useful and fun and things like that, but that just comes down to whether the feature's worth it or not, but or if you just want to go into ChatGPT app and have it do that same function for you instead of the actual official Apple version.
Yes, that's a good point. I guess, if you're looking at whether you should upgrade your hardware to utilize AI, then just find out what functionalities you're going to get and if you can just get that with an app on your existing phone or if you need new hardware. And like we always tell people, when you come to decisions like this about AI, like you see that somebody told you that you got to get the newest iPhone because it's AI powered and does all these things that your present iPhone can't do. We tell people to use AI to research AI. And so, for instance, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, my friend told me that I got to get the newest Apple phone or the newest iPhone because it does all this AI stuff that my present phone can't do. Can you tell me if that's true? And like, what would I really be getting if I upgrade? And so that you can make an informed decision about where you're spending your money and whether you're going to actually get any use out of what's so-called new AI advancements. And so it's always good, like we said, like we tell everyone, one of the most useful things about AI are chat interfaces, what we call generative AI, like ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or some of these others, and just going and having conversations, because what they do really well is research for you. So they're good fact checkers. They're good things to go to when you're trying to get the validity of something you heard or make even a purchasing decision. So thanks for that, Taylor. It gives us our insight into the hardware world of AI going on this week. So now we'll turn to you, Alexandria. What caught your attention this week in the news?
Harvard did a article on work slump, which is a new trend of using AI in a negative setting for work that is actually creating more work for your colleagues or those underneath you. It's the idea that people are fully relying on AI to be lazy in their work. And so they're putting in what they need to get done into AI, and it gives a product back to them of either a report or paper. And they just turn that in as is, thinking that it's good enough without proofing, which is great reminder as reading that AI has so many benefits that can be resourceful when it comes to your work or school. But the point of the work slop is that when you are passing that kind of information on to your colleagues, they have an uncomfortable situation to where they either have to redo what you did, creating more work for them, or they have to tell you, hey, this doesn't look right. You need to do something better. So I think it's a good thing to constantly remind ourselves that AI is not perfect. And this isn't something new. When Google came out, there was a paper or an article written of, is Google making us stupid? And the idea is that the reliance on the internet uh, prompts people to not have to memorize things or actually have the knowledge in their head. They feel reliant that they can just look it up at any time. And a good reminder of AI is that it is pulling from the internet, and there's so many sources on the internet regarding specific topics that you don't know what those topics are, where those topics are pulling from. And it's important to fact check, especially if it's something that's going to impact people around you, to make sure you're putting out the best product.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We see a lot of parallels between the rise of artificial intelligence and the rise of the internet. A lot of parallels with people thinking it's going to make everyone dumber. I remember when I was a kid and TV was, one of the cable TVs suddenly created dozens of channels and they said you're just going to fry your brain if you sit and look at the TV all day. And so, but what we see happening in AI, again, like the internet, is yes, you can't just use it mindlessly. You can't just believe everything you see on the internet. And you can't just expect that AI is going to do something perfectly for you if you're trying to replace your job or your work as a student doing homework with AI's results. You still have to be the human that's steering the AI to get good results out of it. In fact, we see a lot of backlash starting to occur in companies where companies have seen employees just try to replace parts of the work that they do with AI doing the work and getting bad results. And so these companies are very concerned about people using AI. So sounds like what this study helped highlight is if you're not in there with knowledge and expertise and using AI to empower you and augment your abilities and make your job a little smoother, but still actively involved to make sure that you get good quality results and proofread and check the final results, then it can actually backfire on you and cause you a lot of problems because AI is not perfect. And honestly, AI works best, especially a tool like ChatGPT, when you're experienced enough to tell you exactly what you need it to do, and then you can give it feedback on what it did right and what it did wrong, and what we refer to as fine-tuning the results until you get exactly what you're looking for. So we always tell people AI, ChatGPT, Claude, those generative AIs you can have conversations with, get research from, and help make your personal and work life easier are incredibly powerful tools, but they're just tools. And you've got to make sure that they're working correctly and giving you the results that you want. Since you talked about the job market and people using AI in the workplace, what are your thoughts at this point, Alexandria, about is AI just going to take away everybody's jobs, and should everybody start being worried today about losing their job to artificial intelligence in the next year?
I definitely don't see a time where AI has full control over the job industry. The nice thing that AI is going to do, not only for work life, but day to day life, is amplify human ability. So it'll free up time for those that want to do their job better to not have to do minor tasks such as reading emails, responding to emails, keeping track of a calendar on a day to day basis, ordering things. It'll be able to streamline a lot of business management. But as for the actual job industry, it's still going to very much need, and I don't see this changing anytime soon, human in the loop to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks and that things aren't done inaccurately. And so I don't see that shift happening anytime soon to where the fear is real for AI taking over industries. I definitely do see in the near future AI helping amplify jobs that people do not want to do that are going out of style to do, such as cooking at a fast food joint or in certain construction environments as well, for doing tasks that are just repetitive and easy to handle. That's what I see in the immediate future.
Yeah, especially when we start pairing artificial intelligence programs with robotics that can do things. But I'm with you. We've talked about this before. You know, in the near future, especially, it's just going to take time for AI to be able to have tools that start replacing professionals. Interestingly enough, the one area it's going to have the first impact is computer programming, which is our world of developing applications, because it's really good at writing computer programs and getting better at it every day. But all of the people we know in the developers world, if you're really good at development, you welcome it because you're tired of writing millions of lines of code every year. And so if you can have some type of a program write the code and you can just go in and check it and make sure it's working, then it helps you abstract away from that tedious work, which I think is the biggest promise of AI. But in the short term, I think what we clearly see is that AI is going to make people who are really good at their jobs more capable and productive. And it's going to make people who aren't have to look for a new job, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, let's think of some high-level careers like doctors and attorneys. there's some really great doctors and attorneys out there. And they should be able to service hundreds of clients instead of a dozen clients because they're so good at what they do. And there's really bad doctors and attorneys out there that shouldn't be practicing medicine or the law. And it's probably good that they lose their job because the best become more capable of spreading their services to more people, and the people that are the worst have to go do something different because they were never good at it anyway. And that's the world that I actually like. If you are not good at your job and you're not really helping the people you're supposed to be helping and serving, I think you should find a different job. But that's just my
Absolutely.
opinion. And Taylor, so for you, let's talk a little bit about computer programming and coding. So for years in the computer programming world, we've talked about how things keep getting abstracted away. So it used to be you had to write things in ones and zeros, then you had to write things in really low-level computer code that was very complicated language. And over time, we've gotten to where computer code is more almost like a human language, where you're writing more words and things in your programming. And now we seem on a path towards what's called zero code or no code, where you can just talk, give a prompt to an AI, and have that AI develop the software for you. Where are we there yet? How close are we to that? What are you seeing in the world of AI tools and their ability to just take somebody's idea and turn it into an application? Because there are sites advertising right now on YouTube that say, come to us and we can automatically build your application with just a description of what you want.
Well, I think we're in a fairly decent place right now. I think when it comes to no code, there is a certain level of product you can make with no code fairly easily. I think if it's, let's say you've got a mom and pop shop and they want to easily make a website for their shop or something like that and just give it functionality. I think in that sense, we're pretty well there, where you don't really have to spend like tons of money for somebody to design a site. And AI can do it fairly easily and painlessly. You still have to kind of know what you're doing if you want to use an actual AI model to write the code, or a tool like Anthropic's Claude Code or something like that. There are also tools online that you can go and just, companies have made abstraction layers that just basically you type in what you want your site to be, and the service takes care of the rest. Now, when it comes to much more complex SaaS applications and things like that, I think the ability is there. It's going to take some time until that's completely hands-off, completely a no-code scenario where you don't have to really do anything on your end. You just tell it what you want and it goes. Now, it's possible. I mean, it takes a lot of work and guidance, but I think we're in a pretty good place right now for what language models can do, and AI in general. I think we've still got we've got an interesting few years ahead of us to see how far that progresses here in the next few years, and to see just how close to completely no code that we can get with things like SaaS applications, full desktop applications, even games and things like that. That'll be interesting to see. But I think we're on a overall forward trajectory. But right now, I think it's fairly impressive, but I still think it's in its overall infancy, just based on even how long ago AI in general was introduced and got even fairly good.
Yeah, so I think what we're saying, and one of the things we've seen, because this is what we do for a living in our day job, is we create software using AI as our programmer, but we spend a lot of time learning about programming and understanding how it works, understanding how cloud services host programs and how to build them and deploy them. So I think it's a little bit of buyer beware. If you think that tomorrow you're just going to go sign up for a service that supposedly can automate software, and you're going to go out and start selling yourself as a software developer with no experience, then that's probably not a great idea because you're probably going to run into some problems and you have no idea what goes wrong when things go wrong because you're not a developer and it's more prone to mistake these days. But one of the things we found as a team at Insource AI is that if you understand how these things work, you can steer AI by using a lot of hands-on working with AI as a partner, not as a replacement. And that if you do that, then you can actually utilize it as a powerful tool. And again, this is a parallel to the internet. When the internet came out, you started having places that you could go to and automatically build a website for you. Well, that was great if you just had a really basic website that you wanted. It wasn't great if you wanted to create the next Amazon and have a complicated site with shopping carts and all kinds of products and inventory. You just couldn't get that through an automated website development platform. And I see that today with AI. There's going to be websites you'll see all over the place that say they've automated development of software and platforms, but really just for the most simple applications. The jobs of computer programmers are safe for now, but again, like we said, if you're really good at your job, then you're going to welcome these tools. If you're not, get better, or you're going to be looking for a new job. So I think that's our message for today. Don't be afraid of AI. There's some powerful and incredible things it can do. Be cautious about it though, because like everything, including originally the telephone and then the internet, people are going to misuse technologies for bad things to scam people and harm them in some way. But we believe, having spent years now learning about AI, that we truly believe that the benefits will far outweigh the negative impacts, because we believe that the majority of humans are good, and they're going to figure out how to use this technology for good. So hope you found this podcast #1 of the Insource AI team helpful and informative. If there's any topics that you want us to cover, or issues that you want us to address, or insights that you're looking for, leave them in the comments below. And as always, click like, subscribe, and do all the things you do for your other channels that you like to help us get out there and spread some truth and genuine knowledge about artificial intelligence in a world where people are trying to make sense of what it is. Thanks for joining us today. Take care.